In this lesson, we will talk about objectives. What are business objectives? And what are project objectives? And how do objectives change and develop through the project? And what is a successful project? Business objectives are the benefits we want to realize by means of the project. In other words, the effect we wish to achieve. Business objectives answer why the project should be performed. And business objectives derive from the business case or the contract with the client. Business objectives are the foundation or trigger for putting the project in motion. And once the project has been concluded, its business objectives are compared with the actual benefits achieved to assess how successful it has been. Business objectives should be SMART, meaning specific, measurable, accepted by all involved, realistic, and time-limited. They should also be simple. A 10% profit margin when the project has finished, or satisfy the client and win 5 new projects from that client over the next 3 years. Cut annual maintenance costs by 30% after the project's close. Increase market share from 25 to 30% within 6 months of the project's close. Increase the proportion of elderly people who can live at home by 50% within 2 years of the project's close. Increase the number of users by 100% during the first year in operation. Or profitability. The net present value of the investment shall be at least 15 million after 3 years in operation. Cost shall be reduced by at least 50% within 6 months of the project's close, and comply with legislation and regulations by the deadline. Business objectives must not be woolly and vague, such as meet stakeholder needs, or strengthen market position, boost profitability, cut sickness absence, reduce costs, improve user experience, or enhance staff competency. Project objectives reflect the goals towards which we work within the project itself. In other words, the objectives that will help us realize the project's business objectives. In order to realize the project's business objectives, it is important that the project deliverables meet the quality requirements set, and that the project overall comes in on time and on budget. Project objectives therefore relate to quality, time, and cost. And project objectives must be robust, realistic, and measurable. Quality. That products and services, called deliverables, meet the agreed requirements for functionality and quality, such as the road, or the bridge, or the building, the marketing campaign, the travel experience, the installation, module, a system, the vessel, an event, organizational development, learning initiatives, a change, or any other service. And when they are put into operation, products and services must give us the business objectives or the desired benefits, which obviously means they must work as planned. Time, project end date is August 31st, 2020. Cost, the project must be completed within the budget of 10 million. Time and costs are also important for realizing the project objectives. Delays and cost overruns are detrimental to both profitability and relations with the client. What is the relationship between business objectives and project objectives? We start all projects by defining the business objectives. Why? Then we must define the deliverables that will help us to realize the benefits we are seeking, which are what? Based on the deliverables scope and complexity, we can define when the project should be completed and how much it will cost. The project objectives are often drawn as a triangle. This is meant to reflect the fact that quality, time, and costs are all interrelated. An increase in the scope of work or in the required level of quality affects both time and cost. At the startup of the project, the business objectives and project objectives spring from the business case or the contract. The planning phase is used to define project objectives in more detail and, if necessary, update the business objectives. The project objectives in the project plan should be in balance. This means that the scope of work must be reflected in the schedule and the cost estimate in a robust and realistic way. The plan meets the real world in the execution phase, at which point we will see variances, changes, and the consequences of risks. Here, it is important to try to keep the triangle balanced. For example, by revising the project plan if the deviations are large, or by updating the schedule and cost estimate in the event of changes to the scope of work. When the project has been completed, we have the real deliverable with the associated real end date and final cost. This can then be compared with developments in the project objectives to evaluate the quality of the project's project management. And when the benefit realization phase begins, we can periodically assess the project's actual benefits and compare them with its business objectives. In addition to assessing the extent of the project's success, a comparison of objectives and planned values with actual values is important for knowledge sharing and learning. If the project objectives set in the planning phase are routinely over-optimistic, the lesson learned could be that we should strengthen the realism of future project plans. So what is a successful project? A project that achieves all its objectives. Business objectives will change through the project's various phases. As needs change, new benefits and opportunities are identified, and markets and circumstances change. Project objectives evolve through the project's various phases, and the final deliverable may deviate in quality and functionality from the one described in the business case, the contract, or the project plan. In the same way, the end date and final costs will deviate from the budget frameworks and the project plan. And the real values may be very different from the original objectives. So what then is a successful project? A project is successful if, when the benefits are evaluated, it has realized or is close to realizing its business objectives and the prioritized project objectives, such as delivery by the agreed end date, have been met. Project success is not a matter of black and white, but comes in many shades. Objectives are a combination of business objectives and project objectives. Business objectives should be smart. Project objectives should be robust, realistic, and measurable. No project will realize all its objectives. So a successful project is a project that realizes its business objectives and meets the prioritized project objectives. It is therefore important that business objectives and project objectives are mutually consistent, and that objectives are managed and kept under control.